Good morning, good morning. How are you doing? It's Louisa Munson from the Barefoot Broadcast. Delighted to be back with you on today, Tuesday, the 10th of October, 2023. This is one of the conversations I always really look forward to, because I'm joined by my dear friend Rick Purcell, who I met. Oh my God, I'm going to have to bring him on and try and guess how many years ago it was now. I think it was 13 years ago, Rick.
I think it was round about that time, yes.
Yeah, welcome back. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing really well. Looking forward to this conversation as usual.
Yeah.
Been a beautiful sunny day here. We're coming to the conclusion of it. It's just after 5 o'clock at night.
Of course. So by the end of the show, you'll start to glow golden, won't you, as the sun sets?
Yeah, I've never revealed this in the past, but I'm an ET. And that's what happens when the sun goes down.
That's a bit like the princess in Shrek. She turns into a princess during the day, and the moment the sun goes down, she turns into Shrek. I don't know. I still think you're quite magnificent. So
thank you. Thank you.
Like, the whole purpose of this show really is just to have conversations and to keep things really open and light, and I guess really creating a space of possibility, because if we were to believe everything that was going on in the world as it's presented to us in the media, we could be feeling really downhearted all the time, and so I think it's really important for us to just have these moments to check in with each other and see what's going on. And you came up with this great title, The Hero's Journey, from the Head to the Heart. So where would you like to start? And I should just also say welcome to the people that are watching and the ones that watch later on.
Yes, welcome.
If you've got some ideas on your head to heart journey as well, please do join us in the chat room and become part of the show as well. So thank you so much for joining us. Rick, sorry. Where do you want to dive right in?
At the start. First of all, The Hero's Journey is the title of Joseph Campbell's book.
Yeah.
And he is probably one of the most famous mythologists, and he talks about the hero's journey from the head to the heart, and that's been my own personal journey, and a lot of people that I've been coaching and a lot of people I know who are going through our awakening process. So I thought it would be prudent to talk about that, but let's start with the head and then we'll do a full circle. So our education tends to favor the left hemisphere with knowledge and logic and analyticals and language at the expense of the right hemisphere, which is more holistic. So we've done a really good job of developing the left hemisphere in terms of logical things. And we can get caught up in that. Right. So much so that a scientist will say, give me some proof on that. Where's the science behind that? And of course, how could you make any scientific argument when we're talking about intuition? How do you know? I just know. Right. So there's no scientific proof there, although we're getting to know a lot more about the pineal gland and so on and so forth.
Sure.
So we have been sort of conditioned to think our way through life as opposed to feeling our way through life. And this transition that we're going through now is more of feeling it. What do you feel about this? So that's the starting point. We need the mind, we need logic, we need analysis, we need language, we need all of those things. It's not that they're a bad thing, but we also need the other components. And of course, there's the little mischievous ego, which Jill Bolte Taylor talks about, is a peanut bunch of cells in the left hemisphere. So let's split the mind then. We've talked about the head and the mind. into two components: the intelligent mind, which has made so many extraordinary discoveries and advancements in science and technology. We don't want to get rid of that one.
No.
And the ego one, we don't want to get rid of either, but we really want to master it. Because by definition, it's a false sense of self. So whatever it spews out to us, oh, you're not good enough, you're too old, you're too young, you're never going to make it, all right? You're stupid. All that voice that talks to us, invalidating us, it's all negativity. We can do without that. We can recognize it for what it is, but we don't want to feed it. So that's the head part of it. We want to keep the intelligent mind, and we want to put some brakes on how much of this ego is dictating our life and how much other aspects are available to us. So I thought that's a good start. That's the head.
It's definitely a good place to start. And actually, talking about the head, like starting at the beginning, let's just welcome on the people who are observing in the chat room. We've got our good friend Owen Lloyd Martin, who joins us very regularly for these shows. Morning, Owen.
Hi,
thanks
Owen.
for joining us. We've also got the Global Nobles. I'm not sure if that's Greg or Amy or both, but welcome back and thanks for joining us. We've also got Mr. Good Morning Portugal. It's Mr. Carl Munson with an hola bon dia. Hello, my love. Thank you for joining us. And they were all just talking on Carl's show, actually, about grief. And I guess they were talking about quite a lot of things, but as a sort of adjunct as to what's being reported in the news at the moment, there was an outpouring of compassion and a moment or two just to observe what people are noticing and this outpouring of emotion. And also the beginnings of a conversation about how we can use the mind and the heart. Because I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. It feels like people have been pulled into their heart in a very sort of rigorous way. But it's maybe not, I don't know. There's something about the uprush of energy that was explored a little bit. We're also joined, we're actually joined by both the Global Nobles, that's Greg and Amy. And we've also got Sarah Taylor, who's saying, morning, sorry I couldn't join today, but don't worry, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
So I love what you've just started off with, in terms of the mind. We've got the intelligent mind, and then we've got the sort of monkey mind. Where does it go from there then?
Okay, so let's drop our attention while we're doing this. Drop our attention into the center of our chest, which is a combination of the energy center, the chakra, and this extraordinary pump, which keeps us alive.
Yeah.
And if we put our attention there, we're moving out of the head into the heart. And the heart is the portal to the infinite. Right? We can't think our way to awakening or enlightenment or whatever label we want to use, but we sure can feel our way. So the heart is about feeling and the mind is about thinking. So when we address that center, we put our attention on that center of our chest, that energy center. It now gives us an opportunity to open up to that portal of infinite consciousness. So that's a lot bigger than a peanut bunch of cells in the left hemisphere.
Yeah.
So utilizing that, and there are 6 identified values of the heart or virtues, which I've talked about in the past.
Yeah, I know.
They are appreciation, having a profound appreciation for everything that's going on in our life, even if it's not too comfortable. Right? There's a lesson in there. There is something to be gained from it. And to have compassion, which you just talked about. Whenever there's a drama going on or a situation, it triggers the hearts of those who are compassionate.
Yeah.
And they rise up. If you look at the fires in Maui,
the
people just rose up. There was no external help from the government or the the local governments or whatever, and they all came together to help each other. And there were so much compassion and love. We see that repeated time and time again, where these crises activate our compassion. So that's the second of the heart values or virtues. And then understanding. Sorry, go ahead.
Sarah's saying the heart is the portal to the infinite. I love that.
Yeah.
So she loves what you just shared.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's within us. It's everybody. Every one of us has got a heart. Yeah. And all we need to do is do a little practice of opening that up and having that access to what else is there. So the next one, and these are all practiced on ourselves. Be grateful for ourselves. Be grateful for this body that's carried us for however many years we've been around.
Yeah.
And then be appreciative, be compassionate towards ourselves. In all my years of coaching, a lot of the key factors is the lack of self-love. Yeah. It's so sad, but it's so prominent. And it comes down, the problem comes, we've disconnected from our infinite nature and we don't love ourselves. We hate this about ourselves, or we're blaming ourselves, regretting and stuff like that.
And where does that self-love, where does that lack of self-love come from? Is that from the mind?
Yeah, it's from the self-sabotage of the ego doesn't want us to be free.
Yeah.
Right? It's based in fear, whereas the heart is based in love. So it will tell us make up these stories. You're not good enough. You're unlovable. You don't deserve a loving, supportive relationship. It just goes on and on and on. And that's not the problem. It's when we identify with what is being said through that part. So we then start believing, well, there must be something wrong with me, right? Yeah. Or, yeah, I've been a bad person some of my life. I don't deserve to be loved. I need to sabotage myself because I really don't deserve it. You know, so it's very powerful. It upends all of these heart virtues. So understanding ourselves, have a greater understanding of what our life is about, what we want to do in our life, what we want to contribute in our life. So understandings, we have appreciation and gratitude.
Yep.
We've got compassion. We've got understanding. Next one is forgiveness, which is a biggie.
That's a massive one.
Can we forgive ourselves for what we've done to other people? And can we forgive ourselves for what we've done to ourselves?
Yeah. Right? I think that's the one.
Yeah, it is. And that's where the ego looks for a chink in the armor, and it said, you're not ready to forgive yourself. Yeah, you've been really bad. And it plays on this. So we don't forgive ourselves, instead of realizing, I just had an experience. I wouldn't make that choice again, right? Because it resulted in harming myself or harming somebody else or harming the environment. But I know now what I don't want, so I can now consciously choose what I do want. So that's our whole life is about that. And now when we shine the light of consciousness on it, we can say, okay, I wouldn't make that choice again, but I'm not going to punish myself for it because I can't change anything anyway.
Yeah.
And so let's let that forgiveness process go through. And then the next one is about humility. We are a little speck in the cosmos, right? If you lay on the grass on a starry evening, we're just all those little tiny pinpricks, right? Even 1 of 8 billion people, right? That's a very humbling experience. And to be humble is to be without ego. So every time we express humility from the heart, the ego is not present. Because the ego would want to pull us down and say, I'm better than you, I'm more superior, I've had better experiences, I've got a faster car, all that BS.
Yeah, it is BS as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So humility is an important one. And a lot of people think humility is being condescending and weakening ourselves.
Mm,
I see it as a tremendous act of power.
mm,
Really, it's powerful to be able to admit to this and then forgive yourself for what's happened, and then being very humble in
mm.
eating humble pie,
Yeah.
as they say.
Yes.
And the last one is called valor, and that's an old English word which means basically bravery or courage.
Yeah.
Having courage, and the word courage comes from the word core or
Mm-hmm.
ka,
Yeah.
which means heart. Right?
Yeah.
So those are the six heart virtues, and they are readily accessible to everybody.
Mm.
And
Uh-oh. Oh no. This sometimes happens because, we're in a live link between Portugal and Bali, and Rick lives up in the mountains, up towards the volcano, in fact. We've got this, first of all, Bob, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Got this lovely question that's come in from Sarah just while we're waiting for Rick to come back. And, I'd love to hear from you guys, what you think about this. But I wonder if you agree that we can forgive others, it becomes easier to forgive ourselves. And I'm wondering what you'll think. Oh, here's Rick again. He's on a different device this time. Hello, you've got a different device. Clever. Got a backup device.
no, it's the same one. It just
Is
dropped
it?
out.
Oh, okay.
We've had some problem with our service provider. So
It happens. I mean, it's really pretty incredible that I'm reaching you in the sort of like highlands of Bali. That's pretty amazing.
it is.
Sarah's posted this lovely question. I wonder if you can agree that if we can forgive others, it becomes easier to forgive ourselves.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And um, we don't have to. We don't have to confront people. We
Mm,
don't actually have to sit down and sit down and say, "I forgive you." We can do that energetically. We can
mm.
go through this process, the Ho'oponopono Hawaiian process of
I never know when that
forgiveness.
word stops and starts. I always
Yeah,
want to say, "Pona, pona, pona, pona."
it's an amazingly simple process,
Yeah.
and you don't have to be there confronting the person. But basically, what you do with forgiveness is that you're releasing yourself from the time track.
Yes.
So we've done something to somebody, or they've done something to us, and the ego mind catches that and regurgitates it. I'm never going to forgive that person. I'm never going to do this or that, and it pulls us back down the time track and keeps us stuck.
Yeah.
But when we forgive them, right, because all they were doing is having an experience, right? When we forgive them, we release ourselves, and we then can come back to present time. So
Mm.
it's an act of love to forgive somebody, and an even bigger act of love to forgive ourselves.
Mm. Love that. I just felt my voice go really deep then. Sarah is saying, I'd love to have those 6 heart virtues on a plaque and to see it daily. I'm sure that can be arranged, Rick. You must have them on a slide somewhere, don't you?
Anything can be arranged, and I'm pretty sure they're on my website, on my one of my articles there.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can dig that up.
Sarah, when I met Rick was actually delivering your course called Heart Mastery. And each of the modules was one of the 6 heart virtues, which we went through on a week by week basis. And do you still deliver that? Is that still
Uh,
going now?
no, I'm not running my retreats, but we did run 7,000 hours here
That's a lot, isn't
on delivering the Heart Mastery series.
it?
And it morphed into some other things, but that was the foundation of it. So,
Yeah, I mean, you must have met some really incredible people. I mean, I know we've talked informally about some of the amazing people that like come your way. But there's so many inspiring stories, aren't there? And I
yes.
guess, like so far we've spoken a little bit, obviously the title is From Head to Heart. You started this with sort of mentioning we've got the intelligent mind and the sort of ego mind that isn't very humble. And then we've got the heart that's got these 6 beautiful virtues, and their appreciation, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, humility, and valor. And what I'd really love for the rest of this is for us to talk about how we apply it or how we've applied it, or some of the great stories that we've heard of what really being in the heart, like making that journey from head to heart is, and also how that ties back to Joseph Campbell.
Yes.
I'd love that. And before we do that, though, I'd love to just bring up what Bob's sharing, because he's a very reflective person. He's saying, it took me until 60 years of age to really connect my heart to my head. After writing letters to several people I needed to forgive and reading them to an empty chair, then burning each letter. Bless you.
Beautiful, Bob. Beautiful, Bob.
The last and hardest letter. Oh. Bob, what are you like? The last and hardest letter was to myself, and I read it out loud to the chair. And it burnt as well. Oh, and burned the chair as well. Or the letter. I don't know. This was all. This was all before the heart connection came about. That's so beautiful, Bob. Thank you for sharing that. That really touched me, you can see.
Yeah. So, Bob, I would like to ask you a question. Did your life change as a result of that exercise?
Oh, what a great question. That's such a great question. Because isn't it amazing that some of our biggest changes have occurred? Like, out of all the 6 heart virtues, would you say forgiveness is the one that gets things moving? Or
I think they're all equal, and they're not necessarily used one at a time. Because if you want to forgive somebody or yourself, you have to have the courage to do it.
Yeah.
You have to have an understanding, right, of what was going on.
Yeah.
And you have to be humble to be able to do that. So they don't necessarily stand on their own. They can be used. You can just use appreciation, but you can mix and match them for whatever circumstances appear in your life that needs. All of these heart virtues boil down to one thing, and that is
the
love.
Sorry.
Love. Oh, this is, if you wanted to define love, it's the expression of those 6 heart virtues.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not soppy, romanticized love. It's not, love. It's not conditioned love. I'll love you if you promise not to leave me. All right. But this is a genuine love, a genuine appreciation, all being authentic. It all boils down to one word, and that's love.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of love for Bob from Sarah and Carl, although he's saying a waste of a chair. We do like a good chair. I tell you what I really love about what you've just shared there, but also I really love how Bob was just openly really vulnerable. He let us see inside him for a moment.
Yeah. That takes courage.
It does.
That's an act of courage that came from the heart.
Yeah.
Right?
And it moves you, doesn't it?
It does. It moves me to tears. I see acts of kindness sometimes on YouTube or somewhere like that, and it brings me to tears. And because the opposite is true. We see so much of the negative that now and again you just see this beautiful act of kindness where somebody comes up and pays for paying for somebody's coffee. Right?
Oh God, yeah.
I have a story. Can I tell you this little story about that? Lita and I were in Houston in Texas before we went to Africa on a major project. And we drove on. The first day we got there, we were given a car. We're on this freeway, and we got to a toll booth.
Yeah.
And there's a funnel there where you drop your coin in there. And I was just about to drop it in. And in the window was this wonderful, smart, beaming, smiling African-American woman with an enviable Jimi Hendrix afro.
Oh man,
And she,
so much
and
envy for that.
yeah, especially for
I love
me, especially.
Yeah.
And she said, "Sir, you see that there Chevy up there?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "He's just paid for your toll."
Oh, that's so
So
nice.
in that moment, I said, "Ma'am." She said, "Yes, sir." I said, "This is for the guy behind." And I pay for the next one.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
after
God.
that point, we got a big plastic jar full of coins, and
Yeah.
we'd pay every time we went for a toll, which
Yeah.
was quite regularly. We'd
Yeah.
drop and pay for the one behind.
Oh
So
wow.
now we're in Texas, so
Yeah.
I'm overwhelmed with this complete stranger doing this beautiful
Yeah.
random act of kindness. And I said to Lita, "Listen, I'm going to chase after him, pull him over, and give him a big hug." Right? And
Oh
and
God.
she goes, with a sawn-off shotgun, she goes, "You're
Yeah.
in Texas, remember?"
Did you manage
you
to
may
get?
you may be misunderstood. So I
Yes,
said, "Yeah,
that's true.
okay. What should we do?" "All right, we'll start paying for everybody else's his toll." So
Oh
it's
my
a,
God.
it doesn't have to be heroics, just random acts of
Yeah.
kindness. Opening and holding a door for somebody,
Yes.
helping a little old lady with that shopping cart that's got a wheel that goes like this.
Yeah.
And all of that is an act of love that we're committing. It makes us feel good. It makes the other person feel good. So this is not rocket science. 6
No.
heart virtues, just practiced every day. And that is, people ask me, "What is your practice?" I said, "That's it. Towards myself and towards others." There's
Yeah.
no esoteric. I don't meditate. I'm mindful,
Yeah.
but they're very, very life-changing and powerful.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's interesting that you say um, it's an act of love, because for some people that really, it instantly brought to mind the sort of 5 love languages book. Like how do people express their love, and we're really lucky if we understand how our partner expresses love and shares love, and often we don't. But when we realize that the thing that your partner's wanting is actually a completely different language to the one you use, you can actually do something to come back together. So like active love would really work for those people who really love to feel like someone's gone above and beyond. But we've also got things like just quality time and words of love and gifts, and I can't remember the other one. It's physical attention.
Right.
You can't really do that randomly. You can't pay that forward. You'll get locked up for that. Yeah, maybe scrap that. Sarah saying, Rick, does that love course need to be brought back to life?
It's written about now. So I've written a couple of ebooks, and anybody can pick it up and practice it. So it won't be me. I've did 10 years of it every month. And my process now is to be writing about all these stories that have happened. But thank you for the idea.
Maybe we need some ambassadors to work on your behalf.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. So where are we at now? So random acts of kindness, and just pulling these 6 rabbits out of the hat, whichever one is required. I was coaching a couple last week, and they were at loggerheads with each other.
Okay.
Absolute loggerheads. And I sat them down. I did 2 things. I said, "I would like you each to express what you need in this relationship." Because when our needs are not being met, we get irritable and then antagonistic and angry and all the other stuff that goes on.
Yeah.
So I had them sit down and make sure that you listen mindfully to what's being said. All right, you will have your turn. So then I got them to express their needs, and there was a shift, but not a big one. Then I said, "I want you now to swap over and say what you really appreciate, what you're grateful for in this partner." And there was a long silence. and then the guy said something, and she responded. I reckon it took about 4.5 minutes for the whole energy to change. I witnessed it. There was a lift. I could see the energy shifting. And after about 5-10 minutes, I said to them, how do you feel now? And that was completely different. And all of that antagonism had gone. Just amazing. Now it can come back again, but what we're now talking about is lifting the vibrational frequency with just one of those heart virtues.
Yeah.
And that's appreciation and gratitude. Yeah. Yeah. So now what we're moving here to lifting our vibrational frequency, right, and bring it into alignment with the head. Because most of the time, if we're under the influence of the ego, the head and the heart are out of alignment. There's no resonance, right? And the ego has a louder voice from the quiet, authentic self. So we tend to follow the ego, right? So the heart and the head are no longer in alignment. But when we start activating these heart virtues, it brings the head and the heart into alignment. And then we can be in alignment with Mother Earth, and we can be in alignment with the infinite through the heart. Right? So haven't got that clash of titans, the ego, and that out of alignment. So it's a very, very, very powerful process. And now we're talking about resonance and alignment, and that's when the magic happens.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, when you were talking there about like getting into the into alignment with the intelligent mind, or the head, I was thinking, like, you have this saying that I've noticed in a few different episodes where you're talking about what is the wise, intelligent behavior here? What is the wise, intelligent knowing here? And I'm guessing the wise and intelligent knowing is the combination between the heart and the intelligent mind, right? You can't have that wisdom without the heart's involvement. Is that true?
It's true. And there's the other component is that the heart is the portal to the infinite. So now we're adding consciousness to the equation.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
we're tapping, the heart is the portal. Yeah. We tap into this infinite field of potential, this infinite consciousness. It comes through the heart and then up into the head, right? As opposed to the ego mind, which is coming down and trying to dictate over everything.
Yeah.
It's not conscious as such.
Yeah. So I love that. So when we're activating the heart, using one of those virtues or many of them at the same time, it taps us into the infinite consciousness, or it opens us up so we can feel or hear the infinite consciousness, and then it kind of goes up to the head.
Yes. Yes.
So it's interesting then, the hero's journey from head to heart. It's more the hero's journey from heart to head.
Well, it is, but you've got to go from the head to the heart first.
Right.
Right. And then that will permit the connection, the authentic connection back to the mind. And then from that, how they're displayed, because it's now consciousness becoming manifested through the heart into the head. The head looks at what would be an intelligent solution to this problem, right? How do I get that etheric consciousness? What could I do to manifest it into the world? Yeah. And because it's driven by consciousness and the heart, our behaviors would be wiser and more intelligent. And isn't that what we want?
Yeah.
Because we've all experienced our unwise and unintelligent behaviors. And we only have to look at our structures in the world that are demonstrating that. It's being demonstrated right now in Israel and Palestine, in Ukraine and Russia. There's nothing intelligent about wiping out other people.
No. No, definitely not. Not as a solution, or well, it's not. It's not an intelligent behaviour for anything, is it?
No.
But it's been touted as a solution to ending conflict.
Yes. And no wonder we've never ended conflict.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's not the solution. The heart is the solution. Right?
You know,
If we could get both parties, it wouldn't matter who we're talking about, to sit down and express, what do you need? I can guarantee you, between the Palestinians and the Israelis, and I'm not going to get into the politics of it, they both want exactly the same thing. They want security, safety. They want to raise their children without looking over their shoulder. They want freedom. They want human rights. They want water, fuel, food. They want exactly the same thing. If you could sit them down and have them express your needs, then now you've got a foundation to build on peace.
Yeah, see, what I've noticed almost immediately, you know, not even having time to reflect on what's actually really happened, is there's a very sort of strong news presence as to what's going to happen. All of a sudden, all these influencers who appear to talk very differently at other times are all in this massive lockstep of agreed, this is what needs to happen. And it's like everybody's gone to this big judgment as to how everything is. And it actually sounds to me, as I'm listening, as the way one of our kids might try to resolve something. And actually, I think our kids are very smart, and like they might say, "Wow, we should do," you know, and they have this very sort of strong reactive hurt, and they have this reaction, and they really stick to it. But actually, it doesn't take them very long to come out of it. What I'm seeing is this very intractable position that has just been put out there.
Yes,
and
it's a cycle of violence.
Definitely. I would agree with that. Now, when you were saying, you know, it starts in the head and goes to the heart, and then infinite consciousness is able to come in, it comes back up to the head. I wonder, like we were talking, or Carl was talking in his previous show, they were talking about the love of animals and the innocence of animals, and actually the inherent wisdom of animals, because they don't, like one of his guests was saying, they don't really work from the idea of like one spirit or soul. They're more connected to a more sort of connected soul, like they sort of understand their position a little bit. I wonder if things start in the head with animals. I guess it just starts in the heart, and you know, with babies before they've learned to use their head, or you know, like to me, the head feels like a construct that we all learn to use. We have to be trained into it a little bit.
Yes, exactly. And I watch with our twins, who are now 14.
Yeah.
I observe them because I have my 42-year-old daughter. My parenting was vastly different. Now, this time I could say with confidence that it was much more conscious parenting that I was in. And I observed between 18 months and 2 years, the structure of the ego started to come out. And we taught them, all right? Maya, that's your toothbrush. And Mia, this is yours.
Yeah.
From their perspective, it was just a toothbrush.
Yeah.
There was no ownership to it. Right? It would do the same job for Mia as it would for Maya.
Yes.
Right? And then we say, oh, darling, you got your shoe on the wrong foot. You see how one foot goes that way and the other goes that way? And this is your left foot and this is your right foot. We teach them duality.
Yeah, we do, don't we?
Yeah, I'm your dad, this is your mum. Right?
Yes.
So now they, at around about 18 months to 2 years, we're teaching them duality and separateness, which is the way of the ego.
Yeah.
And you throw some fear in there, and now you've got the ego is starting to blossom. Prior to that, they were just in a state of oneness.
Yeah. Yes, and they'd have shared a womb, wouldn't they? I mean,
yes.
They would have, you know, been in more of a state of oneness than, you know, most babies. I mean, that's the thing actually that I think surprised me. And I meant to say earlier, and I couldn't quite remember it, so I kind of rushed through what I was saying. But what struck me immediately is the othering that's going on, you know, without any kind of verification of facts or anything. There's this massive shift of othering. And in the moment that we're othering, we're dehumanizing the people that we're judging. You know, there's this very sort of like dehumanizing language that's just sprung up in the media. And then, of course, the feeling that comes from that. I mean, this is what I'd like to know about, Rick, because obviously people who are having reactions about this just in the same way as they had reactions about Ukraine. Lots of people really, really felt the stories that were being told to them, and they felt it like, is it because we've got some stored memory of our own hurts or something? I don't know. It's like lots of people are plugging into grief and compassion at the same time. And yet, is there a difference in grief and compassion, you know, like from when it's, I'm a bit hesitant to say this, but it feels to me like there's manipulated grief and compassion, and then there's like real grief and compassion that maybe comes from checking in with yourself and I don't know, getting really clear about what where you stand in something, you know. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of, to use your turn of phrase, you know, like wise and intelligent mind. Is there a wise and intelligent emotion? Is there a wise and intelligent compassion?
Each one of those heart virtues is wise and intelligent.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you just put the opposite of it, right? Yeah. Discompassionate.
Yes.
Right. So there is and then there's a scale of emotions from down the bottom of fear, blame, shame, regret, anger, irritability, boredom, coming up to interest, strong interest, passion, appreciation, love, kindness. So there is a scale of emotions. But I think what you were alluding to is more like the collective pain of humanity.
Yeah.
And that is, I believe it's been badly manipulated so that this pain gets triggered.
Yeah.
And it's the manipulation of separateness. So now we can take sides.
Yes.
Right? And if you just look at the US, you've got Democrats and Republicans. Yes. They're fighting each other. You've got gay and straight, Christians, Muslims, or every manner of it. And we've been taught this competitiveness. Go to a football match, right? Yes. And the spectators is us and them. So this is not very wise, because in my books, we're all members of the human family. We're all brothers and sisters, right? And why would we want to harm our brothers and sisters? So if this is orchestrated, then it's easier to get tacit consent to do something. Saddam Hussein was accused of weapons of mass destruction, right? So he's the bad guy. We need to go and get him. And that started the war on terror. Right?
So pretty sure he was later found to have not done what he was told.
There wasn't any. Scott Ritter was one of the UN investigators there. He proved without any doubt that they had all been removed. The Americans put it in there and put them in there in the first place, right? And they had all been dismantled. There was nothing available.
Yeah.
But we know the end story of that.
Yes. Yes.
So separateness, if you can separate, it's the old divide and conquer once again.
Yeah.
You divide a population or an army, they're easy to conquer. So this is a controlling aspect. This is why we need to utilize the heart and not getting caught up in the head of judgment, which is ego, separateness, which is ego, cynicism, which is ego, superiority, which is ego, all of those things, all the fear things. right? But if it's being narrated, carefully narrated, you can have people believe anything that you want.
Yeah. With their very real emotions.
Indeed. Indeed.
I really liked that. That was really helpful. Thank you. Because I realized I wasn't able to clearly articulate what it was I was feeling. I've just got this like strong sense of whatever's going on right now in reality doesn't make sense. And there's a huge outpouring of feeling. And when and I felt this at the beginning of the pandemic, that there was something not quite right, like about what was going on. I'm not saying people weren't entitled to feel and get worried and upset and feel genuine heart connection and like fear that they might be losing people and stuff. Obviously that's real, but you helped me get that in context. There is a manipulation of separateness, and it appears that right now there's a manipulation of separateness to get people to feel a mass emotion, because in that mass emotion, then new things are justified, new behaviors are justified, or
Yes.
seemingly
Yes.
justified.
Yes. And let me just come back to what you said, because one of the admirable qualities that I've always admired about you is your critical thinking.
Thank you.
So you sense there's something not quite right here.
And that comes from my heart first. I just hang
Yeah.
on, something's not quite right here. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a sense, there's an intuitive sense, there's a sense that something's not quite right. If we don't have that, we will just robotically go along with whatever we're being told.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever the television programming is. Don't call it programming for nothing.
No.
So it's important that we critically think and observe what's going on.
Yes.
So not to be all doom and gloom.
Good.
Separateness leads us to unity.
Yes.
Separateness leads us to interconnectivity. If we didn't have separateness, how would we know about the other side of the coin? So this separateness is there for a purpose.
Yes.
Right? And it's stronger now because there is an awakening happening around the world. People are becoming more conscious and aware of what's happening with their bodies, with their minds, with their emotions, what's happening on the outside with nature, with the ecosphere. So it's when we are only stuck in the separateness, right, we can wage war on each other. Right? But when we start to realize that everything is connected, as Chief Seattle said, as quantum physics has said, has some of the Greg Bradens and Nassim Haramins have said, everything is this essence of life, right? And we are that, and it runs through everything. This energy of consciousness, whatever label we want to put on it. Then we will start saying, well, I'm not separate from that, right? I'm not separate from nature, so I'm not going to do any harm to that. I'm not going to cut down the rainforest.
Yeah.
And why would I want to go? I would never go to war again. I would rather go to jail. Right?
Yeah.
So it's separateness that has led to us becoming unified, more conscious, and more interconnectedness. Yeah. So it's almost like there's a blueprint unfolding. Unfortunately, because the media is controlled, we only see one side of the picture generally.
Yes.
Unless you go to some alternative media and can sort through with critical thinking what's really going on.
Yeah, there's loads of rubbish in there as well, isn't there now? The alternative media is absolutely rife with it as well. Yeah. Fascinating. I love that separateness leads us to unity.
Yes.
I love that as an optimistic headline for this show. It's funny because like this morning, Carl and I just took a moment before our busy day started. And I said, look, love, let me hold your feet for a minute. I just want to like connect. And we were just like talking for a few moments. And he said to me that he was walking the dogs and there were a couple of questions that were coming up for him in his consciousness. And one was, what are you noticing right now? And the next one was what else is possible? Because what he'd observed is lots of people are stuck in the position of noticing, and then lots of people are stuck in possibility. And he said, I'm I mean him, he was saying about himself, I tend to be stuck in the possibility of things. And I think actually I'm stuck in the noticing of things. But I really like the idea of separateness leads us to unity, because like when we notice things, we might notice what's not quite right, and we might notice the polarity a little bit. But then if we are able to move it onto the possibility, like what does this separateness bring to us? What opportunity could come from it? What's the possibility? I can see that noticing and possibility can be linked in together.
Yes.
And it really fits with the flow of this. If you don't mind, I'd like to read some of the comments coming in.
Please.
And then I'd love to hear some more thoughts from you as we slowly wrap this up. Because a lot has come in. So Bob is saying, so where do we find the ebooks? This is a great conversation. Is that rickpurcell.com?
Yes, there's some on there. There is some on there.
Yep. And can you please type in the Hero Journey book name and author, please? It's Joseph Conrad, is it?
Campbell.
Joseph
Campbell.
Joseph Campbell.
The Hero's Journey.
Carl's going to be going, what? Because he talks about it quite a bit. The Hero's Journey. Bob is saying, we missed the very beginning. Viv had a heart to call to turn on the Barefoot Broadcast today. Can someone please list the 6 heart virtues? I've done that. Appreciation, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, humility, and valor. So that's there for you. Someone can tell you a story that is so sad that it will trigger that response in you, and you can experience it or witness it yourself in person. Is one more real than the other? Wow, that's a great question. Can we come back to that in a sec? I just want to read the other comments. Bob's saying, thank you. Sarah's saying, what do you see with your own eyes and feel versus what you're being told to feel? Oh, that's another good question. So we'll look at that in a sec. But just this, Bob's saying, wow, separateness leads to unity. Yes, we are seeing that. And that is why, as we see it, governments are continuing to divide groups.
Exactly.
What else is possible, Sarah Taylor? So this looks like the place we might comment on. So is one more real than the other, like a story that triggers sadness in us, or our own experience of it in person? What would you say to that, Rick?
Okay. We can trigger a reaction from the ego, from our pain or trauma, from our past, or we can witness it, and we could still feel sad because we have compassion. Yeah. So two people could be, one could be sad because they have had that experience, and the other could feel that sadness because it is sad to see what's going on in the world, right? And our compassionate heart wants to do something about it.
Yeah.
So the ego reacts and the heart responds. So we would just need to observe in ourselves. Am I react? If I'm use the word triggered, if I'm triggered, it's usually from the ego. It's from the pain of the past, some unresolved pain or trauma. That is a reaction to it, or the heart can respond with understanding and compassion. Did that answer your question, Sarah? They're both real.
Yes.
But one is a fabricated reaction from the ego.
Yeah, I notice sometimes with grief or anything to do with children or babies and loss, I often really, really feel things. And then when I sit with it later, I realize that I still have unprocessed grief about having miscarriages. So that comes up. Even just saying that just made me go, ooh.
Yeah, I felt it.
And so, if anyone was to talk about things happening to small babies and pregnant women, I'm absolutely triggerable. And the thing is, what person on this planet right now hasn't had some form of loss and probably hasn't had the chance to process it right now? We're walking hooks, aren't we? Like those when you go to the fairground and there's all these like ducks in a pond with little
Oh,
circular things
yes.
around them, and the media is like just going in with these great big fishing lines and just hooking us out into a new story. Like,
Yeah.
let's get brief people over here, let's get these people over here, let's separate them.
Well, the other thing is that we can. There's no doubt that we can have our own grief,
Mm,
right? But what I've been noticing over the last couple of years is that I look at this and I think that's not mine. I've
yeah,
healed from it. I've identified the narrative that I spun around it. This is something. This is the pain of existence, I call it. It's the pain of being human. It's
yeah,
the pain, it's the collective trauma
mm,
that we now, as we become a bit more conscious, we start venturing into this. And it's easy to misidentify and think, oh, I thought I'd dealt with this, but obviously I didn't. No, you might have dealt with it, but now you're looking at the bigger picture where we start healing the collective,
mm,
right? And how much pain is in the history of humanity? How much pain is in Black Africans becoming slaves?
mm.
How much pain is in war? And how much pain is in divorce? There's so
Oh,
much
yeah,
pain in our world, right? That we can get to a point, we can consciously go back there if we want, um, or it just happens we sort of drift into it. Then I ask this question: is this mine? And
yeah,
I'm ruthlessly honest with myself, or is this the pain of existence?
yeah,
And more recently, last couple of years, it's been the pain of existence. And
mm,
I will sob uncontrollably. And
mm,
it lasts usually for about 1 or 2 minutes. I would just excuse myself from the lounge room. I'll just go out and sob my heart out, almost, hyperventilating. And I know I'm diving into this. I know this is not mine. And then I'll take a deep breath and it's gone.
yeah.
Right? And maybe a little bit of chunk of trauma has gone from the collective. I don't know. I don't
That'd be
know.
absolutely wonderful if it is. I know in the last 7 or 8 years or so, I've been aware of experiencing things that haven't really belonged to me in a much more acute way, almost like there's more of it available at the moment. Like there's more like when stuff like this happens, I always just think there is more change going on. There's so much
Yes.
change going on right now that people are experiencing real highs and then the real lows straight after. um
Yes.
and and it occurs to me, wow, someone's not dealing with their pain. It's kind of lifted up somewhere and it's in the collective consciousness and it rains down on you. And if you're like maybe empathic or sensitive, it's like being out without an umbrella. You just get like soaked with it. um
Yes.
like I know with Sarah's training in access consciousness, they always ask, who does this belong to? That's the what you've been talking about, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
um so Bob's saying, ego reacts, heart responds. Love that. Sarah's saying we are not meant to experience everyone else's pain on the long term. That is, so it's great that you can experience it in the moment and fully feel it. Because I mean, that's the other thing that happens, I think, that helps to cause this dynamic is right from word go. We talk our children out of their bad moods. We talk them out of their emotions. We teach them that nobody really likes to deal with emotions, and it's a little bit of a faff. And actually, when our kids are in a tantrum, I don't, more than anything, I just try to move them to somewhere where it's a bit more convenient for them to have a tantrum and sit with them. And
Yes.
sometimes I have to physically restrain them a little bit, so
Yes.
that they can actually feel that I'm there and that they can sob. Because, even though we've encouraged them really to feel everything so fully that they can let it go, even in their tiny little bodies, they've picked up messages and they're rigid, like they don't want to give into it. Um,
Yes.
and I see that reflected in grown-ups a lot. So I really honor you and appreciate you for feeling what you feel and letting it go.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And to come back on Sarah's point, I I do not consciously go out and try and resolve somebody's pain.
Mm.
As a coach, I can give them direction, but I
Yeah.
don't take on their pain, because that would be denying them the opportunity,
Yes, that's a good point.
right? So what
Yeah.
happens for me is this: it's something from the collective. It's not an individual,
Yeah.
right? Right. So that comes into my sphere of consciousness, and I deal with it. It doesn't last very long, but
Yeah.
I won't consciously go, oh, this person's in such pain. I'll take that pain off you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because now it's not mine, and I've denied them the opportunity to learn and grow from that pain. Crisis is the driver of change. So
Oh,
why would I want to deny anybody the opportunity to change and grow and become more conscious?
yes. Beautifully said. And I think that's a great way to end this show, actually. Couple more things coming in. Sarah saying, oh yeah, return to sender, consciousness with love. So, like when one of these things comes up, when I notice that I'm carrying something for somebody else, or I ask myself, who does this belong to? The moment I realize it's not mine, I'm like, okay, return to sender. There you go.
Right.
There you go. There's your love as well.
Yeah.
And Sarah saying, one of your children showed me the most wonderful and powerful, quiet expression of emotion. I will never forget it. I can't remember which one it was, but tell me about it off, another day. I'd love to hear that and remember it. And thank you for noticing that, Sarah. I love that. And Sarah's also saying, yes, Rick, I love that. So thank you very much. All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, we've just gone past the hour, and right on cue, you've started to go golden.
Silence is not golden. You can't shut me up.
So obviously the sun's going down in Bali, and you're getting
It is.
the beautiful golden rays like bathing your face. Thank you once again. There you are. It's like you're ascending. I love working with you at this time for that very reason. Thank you so much for joining us once again, Rick. Really,
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
yeah, I really enjoyed it, and
Me too.
I hope it's been helpful. Because I have to say, I've been I've been spun a little loop of emotion over the last couple of days. It's hard not to. But yeah, hopefully some of these beautiful ideas from today's show will, I don't know, give comfort or give some guidance or framework or something. But yeah, it's been very, very beautiful. Just as a last reminder, the 6 heart virtues that Rick talked about, and you can find them on rickpurcell.com somewhere. They are appreciation, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, or forgiving ourselves and others, humility and valor.
Bravery and courage.
Bravery and courage, yes.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Rick. We've got thank yous coming in already. Thank you. This was amazing, says the Global Nobles, Greg and Amy.
Good. Thank you.
So have a lovely day. If you've got any questions or any follow-up comments, then please do send them to us in the chat, or you can send Rick a message. It's info@rickpurcell.com. Is that right?
That's right.
And you can reach me. It's louisatannermunson@gmail.com. All of our details are just below in the show notes. And
Wonderful.
yeah, have a lovely
Wonderful.
rest of the day. Hopefully we'll connect again real soon. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, everybody. Big love.
Lots of love to you. Thank you, Rick. Will you stay behind just so I can chat with you?
I will. Sure.
All right. Ciao, ciao, everyone.
Ciao.
Have fun and lots of love. Bye.